US-63. Alright. Alright, we'll be looking at the entire route of US-63 going the other way now. Starts from near Ashland, Wisconsin, not quite there, to Ruston, Louisiana. You can see here it almost goes to Memphis, but then quickly diverts and goes southwest a little bit. It did used to go to Memphis, but was inevitably replaced by other highways. Before I continue, please do everything you see down the bottom left, and let's get started. Alright, let's talk about US-63 southbound. So here on US-2, we are signed for Hayward, which I think is a good choice from this area. There's not a whole lot up here. Here is the actual split with US-63 and US-2. This is very bad quality. This is from roughly 2008 or so, but we have Hayward on this sign. Now we have Hayward, 39 miles, single line item, so at least they're pretty consistent. Here in Hayward, we are now signed for Spooner, which I think is the next best choice. Here we are meeting with US-53, and we'll be concurrent with it for a short time. On the concurrency, we have Spooner 6, Rice Lake 28, and Eau Claire 85, so we get mostly US-53 control cities there. Here, US-63 leaves is signed for Spooner and Shell Lake. That should probably say something else. Rather, it should say Baldwin. But here in Spooner, we do get Baldwin on a mile sign, so that's good. But now we get Cumberland 15 instead of Baldwin. Why are you not signing Baldwin, Wisconsin? Why are you being so inconsistent? But here in Cumberland, we do get Baldwin back on the sign finally. Here we meet with US-8, and we'll be concurrent with it. And here's that concurrency ending. 8 is signed for St. Croix Falls, and we are still signed for Baldwin. Meet with US-12, concur with it shortly, and then East 12 is right here. Meet with I-94 is signed for Eau Claire going east and St. Paul for going west. 63 South exits ahead for Ellsworth, which I think is a good choice from Baldwin. Meet with US-10, and we'll be concurrent with it. And concurrency ends. We have Bay City and Red Wing signed for where we're going. Red Wing, I think, works. Now we have Red Wing 12, Bay City 13, and Nelson 41. So we get a few cities beyond Red Wing. Now Red Wing 3 miles. We enter Minnesota, and we get a nice view as we enter it as well. Get a welcome to Minnesota signs. It's different from the ones on northbound 75, northbound 63, so do see a different variation of it here, as well as we're meeting with US-61. Now we have Lake City 15, Wabasha 28, probably mispronounced that, and then Winona 61. So we get some US-61 cities on this sign. And here's that concurrency ending. We are going to be turning right here. And now we get Rochester on the bottom line, which I think is the correct choice after Lake City. Meet with US-52 in the Rochester area. I checked most of the signs and they mostly said Rochester, so that's good on Minnesota's part. Meet with US-14 west, and then further on we meet US-14 east. And then 63 South is signed for Broadway Avenue. Probably could put a control city here. But our mileage sign we have Waterloo on the bottom line. I hope I'm saying that right. But I think that is a great choice from Rochester, and I hope it sticks. Meet with I-90. It is signed for La Crosse and Austin. Not very good choices there. I mean, Austin, at least it's the correct way to get to the Austin that everybody knows. But now we get Stewartville 1 and Spring Valley 16, which Spring Valley is one of the more substantial places in Minnesota, at least regarding to the rest of this route, but it's only about 2,000 people. I think we should still be signing Waterloo. If they sign on that last sign, they can sign on all of them. It doesn't have to be a one-off sign. But then, once we get closer to Spring Valley, we get Preston on the sign now, which isn't even on the route. It's on US-52, and if you want to get to Preston from Rochester, you would have wanted to take 52. I know from like Stewartville or Spring Valley, you might want to take 63 to get to Preston and to like a different road to get there, but this should not be Preston. It should be something in Iowa, preferably Waterloo. And then once we get the split for Preston, we don't even get that, we get Chester. Why, Minnesota? Why are you doing this? But finally we get Chester and Waterloo on the sign, finally. And now Waterloo is now our only city before we get out of Minnesota. We get a Iowa welcomes you sign. Then in Iowa, Waterloo is on the bottom line, so that's good. And it is on the pull-through here as we meet with 18, and we'll be concurrent with it. And then when 18 leaves us, we're now solely signed for Waterloo. In Waterloo, we meet with 63 and 218. And also, we meet with US-20. And then 63 is now signed for Sergeant Road and Hudson. Probably do a little better there. But on the mile sign, we have Toledo and Oskaloosa signed. So Oskaloosa is a good choice. And here in Toledo, we are now signed for Tama going north as we meet with US-30. And here is US-6. And we also got a historic route signed there. And now we're signed for Montezuma. Okay, weird, inconsistent. Then here is Interstate 80. We're signed for Davenport and Des Moines, which are good choices. Now we get New Sharon 12, Oskaloosa 24, and Ottumwa 52. I think that's a good choice after Oskaloosa. And now Ottumwa in Oskaloosa is now signed. And meet with US-34, and we'll be concurrent with it to Ottumwa, sorry. And then now we are signed for Bloomfield as we split with 34, which Iowa's getting pretty provincial with Bloomfield. I was much rather see Kirksville, Missouri signed, or even Columbia instead of Bloomfield. But we do get it on the next mileage sign we see in Iowa, so at least we have that. And here in Bloomfield, we now just get Kirksville signed. We get a Missouri welcomes you sign. Hopefully they do good going southbound. They did okay going northbound, other than a couple signs. We meet with 136, and we'll be concurrent with it for a bit. And first mileage sign I can see, we have Queen City 8, Kirksville 23, and Jefferson City 144. Not even Columbia. We get to Columbia first. Why are we not signing Columbia here? Either replace Queen City or Kirksville with Columbia if you're going to sign Jefferson City, Missouri. But finally, we do get a sign with Queen City, Kirksville, and Columbia, so that's a little better. But then we go back to not having Columbia and still sign Jefferson City, which I don't like. And then we get this sign with La Plata 7 instead of any of the cities on those other signs. But in La Plata, we now get Macon, Columbia, and Jefferson City, so this is a better way of doing it. Meet with our palindrome, US-36 here in Macon, Missouri. And then from Cairo, Missouri, now we have Moberly 12, Columbia 46, and Rolla 139. So we're skipping Jefferson City on this sign for Rolla. Come on, if you're signing something past Columbia, sign Jefferson City. Don't sign Rolla, it's smaller. And we meet with US-24, signed for Moberly. This is roughly in Moberly. And then from Moberly, we have Columbia 31, Jefferson City 61, and Rolla 124. And we meet with Missouri Highway 763, signed for Columbia. This is roughly where you'd want to exit off to get to downtown. Meet with an indirect interchange with I-70 and US-40, signed for Kansas City and St. Louis, how it should be. And then from I-70, we have Jefferson City and Moberly signed. So Jefferson City is signed for southbound, so that's good. And now we have Ashland 9, Jefferson City 25, and Rolla 87. So this is pretty good. If you're going to sign something after Jefferson City, Rolla is the way to go now. And then now we meet with US-54 and is concurrent with 63 to Jeff City Mo. And then 54 West is now signed for Lake of the Ozarks. But then at the split with 63 and 50, we get Eldon signed instead of Lake of the Ozarks. So that's weird, but at least it's a US-63 video, not US-54. And we now have nothing signed right now. Then once we split with US-50, we are now signed for Rolla, and 50 gets St. Louis, which is absolutely should be. And now we get Rolla on the bottom line, which I'm okay with. And once we get closer to Rolla, we now have West Plains on the sign, which is the correct choice after Rolla. Meet with I-44 is signed for Springfield and St. Louis, how generally is in Rolla. Meet a historic Route 66 sign in Rolla. And now we are signed for Edgar Springs, which is like 200 people. Why are we signing a city with 200 people in it? Especially if you're signing Jefferson City going northbound. Why are you not signing a proper primary control here? And to keep it up, okay, we got Edgar Springs on the top line, Kabul on the second line, we get Thayer on the bottom line, not even West Plains. Thayer's the last city in Missouri, and it's like, what, 2,000 people? Why are you not signing West Plains before this? But then we get a sign with Licking Houston Thayer on it. It sounds like the name of an adult film. Maybe you should advertise it on the I-70 billboards with the rest of them. Then now we have Houston, Kabul, and West Plains. So West Plains finally comes back on the sign. And now we get Kabul signed as a directional sign. Then now once we meet with US-60, we get Willow Springs. We don't even get West Plains signed, which is ridiculous. Why are you not signing West Plains? But finally, once we're on US-60, we finally get West Plains, as well as Junction Route 60 and 63 and 13 miles. And then once we split, we have 60 East, Mountain View, Poplar Bluff, and then 63 South for West Plains and Thayer. So, okay, but I'd rather see a different city than Thayer, because on this sign we get West Plains 16, Thayer 43, and Jonesboro 124. So that's a real swing from Missouri, and it gets a rare Missouri W. And here in West Plains, we meet with 160, and we'll be concurrent with it for a short time. And here is that concurrency ending. And we still get Jonesboro on the bottom line of the mileage signs, which is amazing. And as soon as we're about to exit Missouri, we have Mammoth Spring, Hoxie, and Jonesboro all stays in Arkansas signs. So that's a great sign, and I hope it sticks up in Arkansas. And we get a welcome to Arkansas sign. But oh boy, Arkansas, you have disappointed me. We don't have Jonesboro on this sign. We have Hardy and Hoxie sign, which Hoxie, I understand, is where you meet US-67 / future I-57, but I just don't think it's that important of a junction. And now we're on 63, 62, and 412, and for some reason it's signed for truck route. But luckily we do get Jonesboro on this particular sign. But then we don't get it here. We get Pocahontas, which I think is for 62, and then Hoxie, which is what we're signed for. Why don't you replace one of these with Jonesboro? And here is 62 splitting, and you can see on that mileage sign up ahead, there's still no sign of Jonesboro. Finally, on this sign, on 63 and 412, we do get Jonesboro and 32 miles. Then, as we get closer, we get Junction I-55 and 68, which 63 doesn't go to, but it does meet with 555, which does go to I-55, so I think that's okay. And then 67, we meet in Hoxie. And then further up, we meet with 555. It's a little bit of a handful to say sometimes. And then now as we split from 555, we have 49 South and 63 signed for Southwest Drive. You could probably put a control city there. And here we are exiting the Jonesboro area. And now we have Wallenberg 16 and Brinkley 67, which I think is a great choice from Jonesboro. But, oh boy. ARDOT, if you're watching, let's sing a song together. And it's probably one that you remember because you probably sang in kindergarten. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, don't sign an unincorporated city. Because guess what? It is 100 people, and I don't care about US-64 being the junction there. We should not be signing something that has 100 people on a US highway. But luckily, once we get a little closer, we do get Brinkley on the sign. Here in Fair Oaks, Google Street View classifies this as Wynne, Arkansas, so I don't know why we were even signed for Fair Oaks to begin with, but we do see Brinkley still signed. It has a zigzag arrow, which is pretty cool. I like that Northbound had that. We meet with I-40 in Brinkley, assigned for Memphis and Little Rock, which are good choices. And after the I-40 concurrency, we're now signed for Hazen, and then Des Arc for Highway 11. And roughly around Hazen, we have Junction US-70 in 3 miles, the Falls Bluff 9, and Stuttgart 23. So Stuttgart, I think, is a good choice after Hazen. Then we still keep it up here once we meet with 70. And then after the split of 70, we're still signed for Slovak and Stuttgart, so very European places here. Then keep it up, we have England on this sign for Junction 165, and it's also signed for DeWitt and Clarendon. And here we are meeting with US-79. And then during the concurrency, we have Humphrey and Pine Bluff signs. So Pine Bluff is the correct choice after Stuttgart. And then we meet another mileage sign. We have Junction I-530 and Pine Bluff. And then we meet with I-530 assigned for Little Rock, which I'm okay with giving the control city to that since it's an interstate and it's the largest city in Arkansas. And then off of 530, 63 is assigned for South Olive Street because for some reason, just put a control city there. And we have Warren 47 and El Dorado 95. Warren could be the primary, but it's kind of cool that they have El Dorado in this sign too. Further on, we do get a sign for just Warren, but it's not too close to Pine Bluff or El Dorado, so I'm okay with it being signed. Here we have the Arkansas style sign of signing the city and the junction with the same mileage that we've seen on other roads. And then we meet with 278, a sign for Monticello and Hampton, which are decent choices, and then El Dorado still signed for going straight. But oh boy, it seems like Arkansas did not learn from the alphabet song, and we get Morro Bay on this sign, which is, you guessed it, another unincorporated city / community. You could argue they're talking about the state park, which is also signed for Morro Bay, but then why is state park not listed on this and just Morro Bay? The Morro Bay unincorporated community is so small, I couldn't even find population statistics for it. So this shouldn't be on there, it should still be El Dorado. And now Morro Bay is on here, but El Dorado is back on here since we're getting closer to Morro Bay. And here in El Dorado we meet with 167, which we will be concurrent with for the rest of its run, which I don't really understand why this isn't the southern terminus of either 63 or 167. I don't know why they're concurrent all the way to Ruston, even though it ends at Ruston. But now we're signed for Junction City, which is just really provincial. Just sign Ruston here. It's bigger, and it's in Louisiana. It would be a little more helpful. Meet with 82. We're signed for Crossit and Magnolia for it, and then we're still signed for Junction City for our route. But the next milestone, we do get Ruston on this bottom line. Here we are entering Louisiana, we get a welcome sign. And then every mile sign I saw has Ruston on the bottom line, so they did pretty good going southbound. And then I skipped that to the I-20 junction. We have a sign for Monroe going east, which is okay-ish. And then westbound, we have Grambling and Shreveport. I don't know why we need Grambling on there, but at least they have the main city on there too. And this will end 63 south. And then my final verdict for 63 south, to make it as simple as possible. So going south, I would say Hayward, then Spooter, Baldwin, Ellsworth, Red Wing, Lake City, then Rochester after that, Spring Valley, then Waterloo. I'm okay with this as a secondary, but not primary. And then I'd say just Waterloo, then Toledo, Oskaloosa, then just Oskaloosa, Ottumwa after that, Kirksville, then Macon/Columbia, Moberly, Columbia, then just Columbia, and then Jefferson City after that. And then continuing, we have Rolla, then West Plains, Thayer, and Jonesboro. I'm okay with Thayer as long as it's a secondary. And then Hoxie, Jonesboro once you're in Arkansas. And then Jonesboro, then Brinkley, Stuttgart, Pine Bluff, Warren, El Dorado, and Ruston. So pretty straightforward there. And in the tier chart, I have Iowa and Wisconsin, the great choices with minor bad. They're kind of in the minus part of this category because there were a few inconsistent signs and some provincial stuff from Iowa. But they're not so bad as these other ones. I put Missouri and Minnesota in good but flawed. Missouri is mostly just inconsistent. Sometimes has a few bad cities signed. But northbound they did a lot better than going southbound. So I put them in good but flawed. Minnesota, same thing. Their provincialism going south kind of is mostly what put them in that tier. And then mid, I put Arkansas and Louisiana in that tier. Arkansas did so bad going south with those two signs I made fun of. And then Louisiana, it's mostly just because they don't have a large section of this road. And northbound, they definitely could have improved it. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. Be on the lookout for any other content, and see you later.